Welcome to today's explainer. Look, if you manage a massive space, we're talking a sprawling hospital, a busy university campus, or a multi-floor commercial building, you are probably intimately familiar with the absolute nightmare of chaotic facility navigation. You've got visitors constantly getting lost, you've got your highly paid staff wasting valuable time just giving people directions, and honestly, it creates an environment that just feels unwelcoming. Well, today we are going to look at exactly how the experts solve this. We're breaking down the industry-leading approach from East Coast mural pros, and we'll see how they design wayfinding graphics that actually guide your visitors without turning your beautiful space into a cluttered mess. It's literally a multi-million-dollar question, isn't it? You pour all this capital into an absolutely stunning facility, you even go out and install brand new signage to try and fix the confusion. But somehow, someway, visitors still cannot find the elevator, or the radiology department, or the main lecture hall. Why does this keep happening? As facility managers know all too well, poor wayfinding isn't just a minor annoyance, it translates directly into major operational headaches, bloated overhead, and a seriously diminished sense of place. But the root cause might actually surprise you, because it isn't a lack of direction, it's actually a completely different problem altogether. All right, let's dive right into Section 1, the complex space wayfinding crisis. So let's get to the bottom of this root cause. The core issue isn't that you don't have enough signs, it's that traditional signage naturally creates visual clutter. Think about it. Standard directional approaches rely on discrete physical objects. We're talking bulky metal frames, plastic inserts, peeling vinyl decals, those standalone kiosks that always seem to be in the way, and every time there's a renovation or a new tenant moves in, another set of these objects just gets added to the pile. And let's be real, rarely does anyone actually bother to remove the old ones. The visual chaos just compounds. You end up with this mishmash of inconsistent fonts and colors that completely wrecks the navigational experience. Plus, these signs have a massive visibility cost. They visually fight with your architecture instead of enhancing it. And don't even get me started on the maintenance. Vinyl decals peel, plastic cracks, metal frames corrode. It's just this endless, expensive, labor-intensive cycle of physical replacement that, quite frankly, just doesn't work.
Which brings us to Section 2, our direct-to-wall solution.
So what's the actual alternative to all this layered clutter? Well, let's explore the proprietary methodology developed by East Coast mural pros. They are the undeniable experts in this space, and they've developed what is essentially the ultimate resolution. Their formalized, industry-standard methodology is called the direct-to-wall approach. Now, this is defined as printing high-resolution wayfinding graphics directly onto architectural surfaces to create integrated, paint-like seam-free finishes. Basically, rather than sticking some physical object onto the wall, this technology allows the graphics to cure right into a durable, cleanable finish that feels like a natural part of the building itself. There are no metal frames, no separate clunky objects, no edges for people to pick at, and absolutely zero visual clutter. The advantages of going seamless are honestly pretty incredible when you dig into them. First off, you get photoreal, crisp detail. We're talking resolution sharp enough for incredibly intricate building mats and diagrams without any of that blurry pixelation. Second, it lets you establish a truly unified visual language. You can design a single, coherent system that scales perfectly across every single floor and building. This builds intuition and dramatically speeds up navigation for the visitor. And finally, and this is my absolute favorite part, you get the ultimate flexibility of paint over capability. Let's say a department relocates. You don't have to rip down a heavy sign, patch the drywall, and repaint. You literally just paint over the old graphic and print the new one right on top of it. It is just such an incredibly smart methodology.
Moving right along to Section 3, the strategic site audit process.
Now, getting to that flawless, seamless finish isn't just about plugging in a printer and hitting go. This is where East Coast Mural Pros really separates themselves as true strategic consultants rather than just everyday print vendors. Integrating wayfinding into an architectural space requires a highly observant, rigorous planning phase. They don't just slap an arrow at a wall and call it a day. Their site audit follows very specific steps. Step 1 is visitor flow mapping. They actually observe real-world navigation patterns. Where do people enter? Where do they hesitate? Where do bottlenecks happen? Step 2 is substrate evaluation. They check the wall conditions, the lighting, the sight lines, because let's face it, a beautifully designed directional arrow is totally useless if it's hidden by a shadow. Step 3 determines the content hierarchy, figuring out exactly what information belongs in the stairwell versus the main lobby. And Step 4 is deep design iteration with your stakeholders to make absolutely sure everything aligns with ADA requirements, existing codes, and your specific brand guidelines. It's a highly formalized expert consulting process from top to bottom.
Next up, Section 4, engineered for high-traffic environments. 5 hours. That is the metric that every facility manager needs to commit to memory right now. East Coast Mural Pros typically completes these wayfinding installations in under 5 hours per wall or corridor section. To really address the durability and operational concerns of heavily trafficked facilities, they know that every single hour of disruption just compounds your operational costs. Those corridors have to remain passable. So by utilizing compressed installation windows during off-peak hours, we're talking weekends or super early mornings, and using a lean two-technician crew with handheld printing systems, they completely eliminate the need for heavy construction equipment or days of smelly wall priming. They literally get in, print, cure, and get out before normal operations even resume.
And the real kicker? The results of that rapid 5-hour installation last a remarkably long time. Let's talk about the life cycle advantage. A traditional vinyl or fabric-based wayfinding system typically fails and needs to be completely replaced every 3 to 5 years. They peel, they bubble up, they get totally shredded by passing cleaning carts. But this direct-to-wall finish, it is inherently durable. It's highly scratch and scuff-resistant, it tolerates heavy bleach-based cleaners without fading, and because there is zero adhesive involved, there's nothing to degrade over time. Because of all this, it remains stable and effective for 7 to 10 years or even longer. That makes the long-term life cycle efficiency vastly superior to any traditional method out there.
Let's look at the proof in Section 5, Real-World Wayfinding Results. Okay, so the theory and the methodology sound fantastic, but how does this actually translate into real operational impact? Let's dive into the hard data. 34%. This amazing number comes from a 600-bed Mid-Atlantic teaching hospital. They had a massive, massive problem with patient family members getting lost across 4 distinct connected buildings. And this was constantly diverting their highly trained clinical staff away from patient care just to give directions. Well, after a 10-day, completely non-disruptive installation of a color-coded direct-to-wall system on their stairwells and elevator lobbies, boom, post-installation surveys showed a massive 34% reduction in visitor requests for directions. That right there is a direct, measurable return on clinical efficiency.
And here is another incredibly powerful metric for you, 28%. This was the financial impact at a huge public university spanning over 40 different buildings. They were dealing with wildly inconsistent signage that made onboarding new students incredibly frustrating. By bringing in the experts to create a cohesive, unified visual system, rolled out smoothly over 4 months, the facilities team didn't just improve campus navigation and branding, they actually reduced their annual signage maintenance spending by 28%. They completely eliminated the need for a dedicated, never-ending signage procurement and replacement cycle.
This perfectly sets up Section 6, direct-to-wall versus vinyl alternatives.
This data just brilliantly illustrates why understanding your alternatives is so critical for your budget. When we put vinyl and adhered signage head-to-head against a direct-to-wall finish, the operational differences are frankly night and day. Vinyl requires days of meticulous prep, it realistically only works on perfectly smooth surfaces, and when it's finally time to remove it, good luck. You're dealing with heat guns, hazardous chemical solvents, and manual scraping that often damages the underlying substrate anyway. Not to mention, it bubbles and peels after just a few short years. Direct-to-wall finishes, on the other hand, install in mere hours. They adapt to drywall, concrete, brick, or CMU equally well, and boast that massive 7 to 10-year life cycle. And when you finally need to change it, you literally just paint over it and reprint. When you look at the cost per square foot over the entire life cycle, direct-to-wall printing is just far, far more economical.
Which leads us to our final part, Section 7, getting started with your strategy.
So, the big question is, how do you actually implement this in your own space? The onboarding steps to partner with this expert team and permanently solve your facility navigation challenges are surprisingly clear and straightforward. Step 1, audit your current wayfinding. Document the existing signage you have and identify exactly where that visual clutter is accumulating. Step 2, define your scope and priorities so you can establish a realistic budget and timeline. Step 3, brief your design partners. You provide East Coast Mural Pros with your architectural plans, your brand guidelines, and your ADA requirements. And finally, Step 4, schedule a 2 to 3 hour site visit. During this visit, their experts will get on site to assess the substrates, check the lighting, and map out operational constraints to surface any potential complications before the design phase even begins. From there, it's a straight shot into design, final approval, and rapid installation. I want to leave you with this really provocative thought straight from the source material. Wayfinding doesn't have to mean clutter. By integrating directional graphics directly into your architectural surfaces, you can create navigation systems that feel like a beautiful, natural part of the space rather than something forcefully glued on top of it. You get wildly faster installation, a significantly longer life cycle, and much lower total costs over time. It is absolutely time to rethink your spaces. To learn more and to discuss your specific wayfinding goals with the absolute best in the business, you can reach out to the experts directly at eastcoastmerrillpros.com. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.